Well, in the age of community contact, a very interesting business has recently listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, which originally came out of the US, and it's called Life360. And I'm talking to the CEO, Chris Hulls. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Chris, tell us what Life360 does.
Sure. There's the core of our app, which is just a day-to-day. You can think of it like Apple Find My Friends, but so much more. So see where everyone in your family is, send messages back and forth, automatically get alerts when your kids get to school, your wife leaves the office, someone finished a drive. It's basically a coordination, just getting through the day. But then on top of that, we have what we call our membership, which offers a whole range of safety features for stressed out and worried parents. So things like roadside assistance, automatic detection if you get in a car accident, where we actually will send you an ambulance. Sent out over 10,000 ambulances last year. We protect your identity. We have an SOS alert in an emergency situation. So basically, it's this app that's used day to day just to coordinate, get through the day. But in those emergency situations, which hopefully people will never need, we're there for you.
Yeah. So what was the initial reason why you thought the world needed something like this?
Sure. So there's really two parts to it. The early inspiration was Hurricane Katrina. I was in college at the time, 15 years ago now at this point, and the government was talking about using technology to help families reconnect after major emergencies. And I wasn't planning on starting a business around the idea, but then when I started thinking about it, it's when smartphones were becoming a thing. The iPhone had just come out, and Google announced Android, which at the time was the only phone that was going to allow apps to run in the background and have access to your location. So we built a prototype of this emergency system for the then upcoming Android phone. And then when we built this thing, what we found is that there was actually a lot of practical value just to have location shared day to day. And it gave us the vision of the company as it still stands today, which is, can we bring families digital in the same way that Facebook brought the social network online and LinkedIn brought our professional networks online? Can we do the same thing, but in a family use case all around coordination and safety? And then it really went from there.
Okay, so what's the take-up been like in the USA?
So we have over 25 million customers around the world. A bit over half are in the US. Nearly 1 million families pay for the service. So very high penetration, double digits in some regions where the families with teens. So it's become an extremely popular app. Average rating in the iTunes social networking category, as an example, has been number 5 for much of the past few years.
Okay, and how long, you are listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, and how long have you been here as a product for families to access?
So we have been around for over a decade now.
Really?
Yes, we were very early, and now everybody shares location in some app, it seems like. But we were the original location sharing app for smartphones.
Yeah. Okay. So how many Australian families have signed up?
I don't have that exact number off the top of my head, but it's many hundreds of thousands.
Okay. Right. So, and you've recently launched a new membership offering. So
Yep.
What are the main features that come from the offering, and what are the economic benefits to Life360 from this change?
Sure. So one note, you mentioned Australia. The premium features in the membership is available in the US only for now. So the version that Australians can use is much lighter weight than we offer here in the US. We plan to eventually expand globally with all the premium features, but that's coming down the road. So I can get into the specific features, but the theme that we're going for first, which is most important, which is, if you're a parent, you're organizing a family, you're stressed out, life is chaotic, you're constantly worried about the safety of your kids, what are the things around that kind of protection aura, from protecting someone's physical safety, making sure they're safe on the road, making sure they're safe digitally in the cloud? How can we take care of those needs and issues for them? So we have a whole host of services that hit these different pain points in your life that are also very much targeted to different life stages. So as of today, the most popular premium features are around driver safety. So we offer roadside assistance, very similar to NRMA in Australia. We offer an automatic crash detection and ambulance dispatch service, which is based purely on the sensors of the phone. We can detect an accident and send you an ambulance, even if you can't ask for help. And then we give you reports on how your family members are driving. So we've had those features for a few years. But now with membership, we've expanded it to things like protect your identity. So if someone steals your password, creates an account under your name, we'll help you restore it, notify you of the breach, and also reimburse you for any out-of-pocket loss you might suffer. We also have something called Family Safety Assist, which is one-touch access to trained operators who can do things like help you get out of a country if there's a pandemic. We were literally building a pandemic feature prior to COVID, which is a bit ironic. If your kid drank the Tylenol and you don't know what to do, you can talk to a 24/7 on-call nurse. There are a whole range of things. It's a very long list. But again, the idea is, how do we just say, hey, you come to Life360, we take care of all these things you worry about. Yeah. And what we've been able to do is take what previously were existing services. Some of what we do is completely brand new, but a lot of what we're doing is taking services that are already out there and bringing them to the phone. And because we have such a big user base and we have this freemium model, we spend very little on marketing and very little on infrastructure costs. So we can offer all these services in one place for a fraction of the cost that you'd have to pay if you were going to go directly to competitors.
And Chris, it seems to me, as I listen to the range of services, it's got the fantastic appeal that a family can get to know what's going on in their family when you might be worried about them driving or being home late from school or whatever. But it seems to me that particularly if you're a young couple and you're living in a town where you don't have a support mechanism, having something like this becomes like the support system you might have if you're living with your family.
Yeah, the use cases are broad. So for me, as an example, my kids are too young to have smartphones, but I use it with my wife to coordinate pickups and where we are, meeting up for dinner. When she's driving late at night with the kids on screaming country roads, it gives me a lot of peace of mind to know it's there. And now my parents, they're not too old, but they're getting older, and I also use it with them to make sure they got home at night. And if we're ever meeting up somewhere, it becomes a very invaluable tool, even just day to day. It's not just the big emergencies.
Okay, so you've shown that there's been a huge turnaround in your App Store ratings following your engagement with the teens out there. How did you achieve this?
Sure. So just as a bit of a backdrop, for most of our history, teens were largely apathetic to us. If we tried to reach out and engage them, they just didn't really respond. We were the dull app their parents used. But we got so big that we were starting to become a bit of a meme. And on TikTok, a viral trend became making videos of teens looking me up and pretending to beat me up with some choice use of words, which I'll probably keep off a recorded interview. And that took on a bit of a life of its own and had a peak in the early part of our lockdowns where teens decided to go after apps they didn't like, not just us, but us being the prime example, and organize 1-star ratings against them. So we decided, instead of shying away from engagement, and we thought we would enter the lion's den, because we do feel that teens often would misunderstand why we exist. And for the most part, most teens don't mind. And even the teens that were going after us, it was more of a joke than something serious. But we wanted to say, hey, look, we did not set out to make an app for parents to control you, and genuinely don't. And 99% of families use us in very healthy ways. But I wanted to just show a more human element and say, hey, look, that's not what we're designed for. And I probably, as a CEO, am nothing as you expect. So I put on a little bit of an acting hat, a little bit of professional wrestling style drama, and just quite frankly made an idiot out of myself. And half out of fun, I said, all right, what do I need to do to make things right? And there was a serious element of like, really want to make the app better for you. And we did launch a feature called Bubbles, which gives teens privacy when they're pre-specified zone. They can get popped in an emergency. And as part of beyond building that, I said, all right, I'm gonna pay my dues. What do I need to do? So I did all sorts of dumb stunts, pretending like I got fired and needed a new job, and put on a wig and tried to be a young, attractive female teen influencer. I went to a paintball field and said, who here uses Life360? And I found a pretty good crowd and had about 10, 12-year-old boys shoot me with about 100 paintballs with my shirt off. And I just kept going at it until the team said, okay, we like you, stop. We declare peace. So But what they saw is that we actually were well-meaning. There was no marketing spin in that. We actually built features specifically for them. There was no marketing spin in that. And then we wrapped it up in the nice social media bow, which was a little bit of acting and exaggeration of me becoming an extreme caricature of anything that you would imagine, and had a massive turnaround in our ratings. We're at the peak of this 1-star attack. Our incremental daily average was 1.05 out of 5 stars, and now we're back to over 4.5. So we're pretty we're extremely excited about how quickly that turned around, and also even from a business opportunity standpoint, where now we actually have reach to teens and we have a connection with them, which is something that we had tried to do in the past and didn't get much headroom at, but we've really turned that around, and we're excited that we now have an opportunity to establish a presence that's much more explicit about having the entire family's back, not just the parents.
How do you see your competitive positioning versus other apps against big players like Apple and Google?
Sure. So I look at competition in 2 primary ways. They're the direct competitors going head to head with us, being a family-focused app with location safety services, and then they're the more generic alternatives. So the big guys so far have primarily focused on their generic alternatives, like Find My Friends or Google Maps. But what so much of, you think about your own use of smartphones, if there's an app that warrants a place on the home screen, you want it to be very custom to your needs. And so we're very focused on building out that feature set and that membership. So if you are part of a family, we're so focused on the needs specifically for you that the more generic alternatives aren't really a comparison. So maybe if you just want to share location with friends, we're not the best option for you. Just use what's built into the phone. But if you want all the safety features, if you want the membership, Life360 is just hands down better than anything else out there.
Okay.
We have then had direct competitors, mainly from smaller players and a little bit the big guys, but the smaller players were just so much more well-funded. We have the brand, we have the revenue. It's extremely hard for even a relatively big business to unseat the strong leadership position we have. And then if you do look, the big guys have launched some competing products. So Google had a product called Trusted Contacts, which was a direct competitor to Life360. They just announced they were shutting that down, I think a couple weeks ago, and there's some things in the works that hopefully we can talk about soon. But it shows that just because a big giant launches a product, if they don't put their full weight behind it, it's usually a pretty level playing field. So clearly, if Google wanted to spend $1 billion to go after Life360, they could give us a real run for our money. But if it's not that core, just having 50 people at Google coming after us so far hasn't been a threat. And they usually try to buy the market leader if they get very passionate and excited about a space in a deeply strategic way.
Okay. So you've achieved positive cash flow results in the past 2 quarters. Do you expect to be able to continue this into 2021?
Sure. So I think be able to is a bit of a loaded is too strong of a word, but like, yes, we could absolutely stay cash flow break even indefinitely. One thing we've always said to investors is it's a very discretionary business. We can scale up marketing whenever we want. The base layer of engineering maintenance to keep the system going is a lot. We could run a lot leaner than we are now, but we want to invest in growth because we think we're very much in we're not a mature company in the sense that we're at the end of our growth curve. We've been around a while, but we're very excited just about how much bigger we can get. So while we could do that, we're much more excited about returning to growth. And when I think about being cash flow break even, it was very much in response to COVID. That was a frustrating headwind for our business. Although we are a digital service, we're not like Zoom, on which we're speaking now, which gets a benefit from COVID. Use of our app is predicated on families having individual routines about not being isolated in one room. And also our growth is largely families talking to other families. So we just thought, okay, it's a very difficult operating environment. Fortunately, it's not structural. COVID is going to pass one day. Certainly gone longer than I think most people initially expected, but this is not permanent. So let's use this as an opportunity to demonstrate to the market that we are a disciplined company. We're not going to recklessly spend our cash, even though we have quite a bit of it in the bank. And then second, that this is a good time to be a bit more conservative, and let's demonstrate what we've long said, which is whenever we want to be profitable, we can. So the plan now, though, is start leaning back into investments, into new initiatives that will set us up for a very rapid return to growth whenever the environment normalizes.
Okay, so it seems to me, particularly in Australia, one of your go forward initiatives must be to escalate your marketing reach, in a market like Australia. Do you have plans to do that?
We're still very much primarily US focused because there's just so much headroom here. The membership's just getting started. We'll have free feature parity in Australia, and that's already happening, and it's evidenced by the users we have. Full international expansion will very likely be 2022 at this point, because 2021, given COVID, is looking more of a year that, hey, let's not bite off anything really big. Let's focus more on stability and fiscal discipline.
And so I guess given that, and given what we're seeing from all the political pictures and the locking up of businesses and things like that, and also the purchasing of guns in the US, it's really a trend that's worrying. It seems to me that a business like yours has even more need because people are obviously more worried than they were, say, 5 years ago.
I think that's absolutely for sure. And I think part of the reason we are holding up so well in the face of COVID is because people are more anxious. Because if you really look at what's happening with COVID, we should be impacted a lot more. So I'm imagining that, the successful launch of our membership, which dramatically increased what's available to consumers, and the fact that just people are more worried, that very much is a countervailing tailwind to this broader environment. And although I certainly hope the best for the world, the fact that even after COVID, I think the anxiety of just the political situation and the unrest is something that does play in our favor from an economic standpoint.
Well, Chris, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.